Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, and Stryker. Today is our 140th episode, and we're talking about the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode, Raphael Meets His Match. So, let's get things started.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power! I not grown up with it, but yeah.
Yep, no better way to start than with this. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles instantly became a huge hit with the 1987 show, lasting for years. And you can easily see why, especially when compared to some other 80s cartoons at the time, like for example He-Man, or this really has, while not as good animation, or better animation than He-Man, but what I'm trying to get at is it has more fun with it, let's put it that way. It has more of like a joviality and some pretty good action too, even when parent groups had to basically tone it down. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, sure, there were a lot of other pretenders, like Biker Mice from Mars, which we already covered. Hell, even Rare threw their hat into the ring with Battletoads for the most part. There will always be a Turtles. There's no taking that away. Characters from here are going to be immediately recognized from series like these. Anyways, go ahead, Math.
What do you mean toned down? Oh, that's just crazy. It's not like in the original comic they were mean, gritty, and used assault rifles or anything like that.
Or Beheaded Shredder. Don't forget that.
Go ahead, Stryker.
Toning down is an understatement. If I remember, in the British version of the cartoon, they changed the title from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and they disarmed Michelangelo of his nunchuck.
The reason they did that, believe it or not, there is a reason they did that. In the 80s, in the UK, ninjas and nunchucks in particular were considered the same level of terrorist weaponry.
Oh, wow.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's what they did. Ninjas are actually considered to be on the same level of terrorists and that, so yeah, they definitely had to change it. But they didn't for the movies, just for the 87 show.
Oh my gosh, like, I'm just imagining a terrorist going into British bank and everyone just be like, tell you then, hand over the money before the coppers arrive. Tut-tut, just swinging the nunchucks around, everyone's just like, oh, okay, and they just go back to their thing. Anyways, Shark.
That kind of censoring was really insane, that how nunchuck of all things were seen as more violent than actual guns sometimes. Like, take like the second movie where the turtles could not use weapons, like Mikey had to use sausages as improvised weapons to fight.
Oh, they definitely censor them in the movies too, which we'll get to in a little bit. This episode in particular is one of the more famous ones for one particular reason that we'll get to soon enough. And the episode begins with the theme song, which is honestly one of the best theme songs in animation history, period. It's catchy, it's got a good rhythm, you know what the show's about instantly. Other versions of the Ninja Turtles have definitely tried, but this is the theme song that everyone remembers, and everyone probably will remember for a very good reason.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly. I'll go, Chuck.
I do like the remix they did for the 2012 version, but we'll get into it when we actually cover the 2012 Turtles.
They did a great version with that one too. This episode begins with the turtles in their trench coat disguises, and I always found it hilarious that the turtles wore those stupid trench coats, and that managed to somehow fool everybody. Raphael and Michelangelo, voiced by Rob Paulson and Townsend Coleman respectively, complained to Donatello, voiced by Barry Gordon, about his choice of getting pizza from Pick a Peck of Pizza. The pizzas are incredibly small, as the turtles complain over this, with Mikey knowing that is how McDonald Crump, the owner of the pizza chain, got to be so rich. And I know what you're thinking, and no, he is not based on the guy he is named after. He doesn't even look like him, as McDonald is bald and he has a big Italian mustache. He looks more like Peppino than anything else. We really dodged a bullet there.
Honestly, if they have gone to Pepino, at least they would have gotten good and big quality pizza.
Yep, that's what the turtles like the most. Anyway, go ahead and run.
It kind of looks a little bit like an Italian Colonel Sanders.
Honestly, I think I can see that.
I can definitely see that too. Maybe that was the intentional reference in a way, fast food owners and that.
Yeah, he even has a southern accent for that, so checks out even further if so.
Raphael mentions that this is the worst pizza chain in the world as the turtles eat their tiny pizzas, complaining all about how it is a ripoff. Mikey says that he will stick to Vinny's Pizza, while Donatello says that the pizzeria gives off free prices and scratch-offs. Donatello scratches it, only to be disappointed that he won another one of the puny pizzas. Leonardo, voiced by Cam Clark, and Michelangelo win the same thing, with Mikey noting, "That's not a prize, that's a punishment."
That's not a prize, that's a punishment.
Perfect. Raphael then scratches his ticket to reveal he won a free pass on McDonald Crump's birthday yacht. Leo points out that Raphael can't mix with a bunch of human beings, but Raph notes that it is a costume cruise, and he has a great costume. We then cut to the sewer layer where the Turtles, April, and Splinter, as Raphael shows them his costume, which is literally just his normal appearance.
Yep.
Yeah, they make several jokes about that, which we'll get to in a bit, but first, go ahead, Angron.
Yep, Ninja 101. Sometimes hiding in plain sight is the best tactic.
That's the joke. I think that was the joke they were going for, which, you know what? It works.
Yep.
As Splinter himself said in the episode, sometimes simplicity is the best solution.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, just look at
Yeah.
DK without his overalls.
That too. But
So let's just say that costume was more popular than he thinks it is.
oh, yes, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But April notes that she has to leave as she's covering the party, then jokes she hopes she can recognize Raphael in his costume. We then cut to the docks where the yacht is waiting, and Donatello then lifts up the manhole cover and tells Raph the coast is clear. He then turns to the camera and breaks the fourth wall by saying, "I always wanted to say that," with a smirk, which, yeah, Turtles definitely loved breaking the fourth wall, which is part of the fun. It's like, they knew, okay, it's a show about 4 anthropomorphic reptiles that can do karate and that. We know you were not taking this entirely seriously, and that really worked for it.
In the title, it's shown that Raphael is cool but rude. As time went on, he got a little more snarky, sure, but that snark gave way to jokes instead of the attitude that we were going for. Not a bad thing at all, but it's kind of jarring that we're rarely getting angry or attitude-ridden Raph. Like, I get that it would get boring after a while if they did, but a little diversity aside from the fourth walls would be nice.
There is a reason for that. Raph didn't really have his status as the angry one until the movie. Believe it or not, in the show, him and Mikey were pretty much the same.
Oh, interesting.
He didn't have the whole status being the angry, hot-blooded one until the 1990 movie. We do also get something else that the Ninja Turtles are particularly famous for, an animation error, because when Raphael leaves the manhole, there is another Raphael watching him leave. Ninja Turtles were infamous for having a lot of animation errors. Thankfully, not as bad as Deke. There, it's more charming than something like, say, Super Mario World, probably because it adds to the fun, but at the same time... Go ahead, Chuck.
Hey, who says it's an animation error? Remember, they're at a costume party, so...
Good point.
Yeah. Also, interesting fact, animation right there is probably a reference to how in the original comics, all the turtles look the same and they all had red bandanas. So that might be a little unintentional nod towards that, if not just a simple animation error.
Actually, good point.
Donatello says Raph will fit right in as he sees a person in a Ninja Turtles costume enter the yacht. Raph puts his hand to his chin and says, "Oh, brother," which starts a running gag for the rest of the episode. We then cut to more of the guests arriving as April gives her report on the birthday party before interviewing McDonald Crump himself, who is just as a pirate. April asks why he throws such lavish parties as McDonald answers by saying it is so he could advertise his lavish pizzas. Vernon notes in disgust that he thought they were doing a news story, not a commercial, as April says that the boat will have big celebrities, then points out Raphael. Vernon asks if he means Raphael the singer, which, there is an actual singer named Raphael over here, so haha, clever if that was the joke. Or Raphael the actor, as April mentions the Ninja Turtle. Raph jokes because he's green, no one will notice if he's seasick, which, okay, cute little joke there. And now we get to the part why we're actually discussing this episode, because a female lizard with a pink bandana and brunette hair then arrives and embraces Raph, startling him as she says that she almost didn't make it. Raph asks if he knows her, as she says he is a hitter, pulling him off screen. As they are waiting in line to get in, Raph asks if she always goes on cruises with strange reptiles, then hastily changes it to men in a pretty cute joke. The lizard then shushes him and takes his ticket, pushing her way to the front, takes the ticket to the ticket taker and says they're in a hurry, then rushes in. When they're alone, she kisses Raph and notes that, quote, he's a doll too, before running off. She then pops her head around the corner and says how much she, quote, loves his costume. Raph then chases after her, wanting to know her name, but the female lizard is already gone, much to his confusion. We then cut to the yacht sailing away, and I don't know, something about this really looked weird to me. I wouldn't normally point this out, but when the yacht sails away, it doesn't look like it's sailing. It looks like it's floating and there's like water underneath it. It looks so strange. I don't know why. Maybe again, they didn't have time to really animate it right, but it definitely looks a little awkward, shall we say. April then notes how Crump really knows how to throw a party as everybody dances, with him telling them all to do his peck a pizza dance, but getting the name wrong and eventually just saying his restaurant twist. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
So, from watching this episode, I've come to the conclusion that some things look janky and jarry because I think that they put more money or animation budget into our guest character that was mentioned, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I hear Crump and dance, and I immediately think of Marge. So basically, this entire yacht was an excuse for Crump to pretty much dance with Marge or Bart.
Perfect. I'll Crump with you, sweetie. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Sweetie.
Consider the ship has a guy named Mr. Crop. They don't need the Ninja Turtles. When trouble arrives, someone needs to snap their fingers and tra-la-la!
Sam.
La la la.
This ship needs a hero.
Yep. Now it is time to fly again.
But yeah, to further emphasize what I was saying earlier, I have noticed through watching the episode a couple times, the animation for the character is a lot smoother and a lot more fluid. And whenever she's on screen, all of it looks so much better with her and Raph compared to everything else. So I think that they did put emphasis on this because they wanted these characters to look really nice and pop out compared to everything else.
Gotcha.
And it works.
All of the mention of food gets Vernon seasick as he goes over the rail. Raph passes by April, who asks him who his date was. Raph says that he doesn't know, as he says that the lizard used him to get on the boat, then disappeared. April says that she's playing hard to get, as Raph says he wants to know more about her. He then pushes past several costume goers, including several TMNT costumes, and in a cute joke, one of the turtle costumes looks way more like Kermit the Frog, which is also a bit of really fun foreshadowing because, of course, as we all know, none other than Jim Henson would work on the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. And yeah, the Turtles in that look great. They looked so great. I wish we could do those movies, but unfortunately, there is nothing in them that can connect to this podcast. There are no female turtles or female lizards of any kind, which really is a shame.
Yeah, if it was the Saban series with not the Power Rangers, there is a very different Sentai group in that one than just the Power Rangers. Then we can definitely talk out live action turtles, but sad to say.
One of the costume goers berates Raph for his lack of originality, as Raphael says he has grown attached to it. And this is something that is really weird because this guy who is dressed up as Donatello, he is with a woman in a rabbit costume who has an extremely bottom-heavy, thick body shape. And we're not just saying this because, like we go that way, but no, really, this woman's body shape, the woman from the Inner Workings short from Pixar, and it is so weird that it looks like it's almost intentional, Someone was having fun with the background characters, like, oh, I gotta draw a woman in a rabbit costume? Okay. They let the character designer do whatever they wanted, and I'm glad they did because, wow. The man in the Donatello costume tells Raph to go to the ugly side of the ship as he leaves with the red woman in tow. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
The animator's barely disguised fetish on display, folks.
Yeah, if only the lizard had that figure.
Exactly.
Raph then goes to the other side of the ship where he sees the bridge. He then goes there and sees the lizard tying up two of the crew members. Raph asks what she is doing, as she says she has no time to explain. Raph says he'll help her make time as he is tired of getting caught in the dark about all this. Female lizard says she'll throw light on the subject and does a high kick, knocking down a ship's wheel. Raphael looks up and notes that he was the one who's supposed to make clever remarks, only to get stuck in the wheel, and it's like, gee, Raph, you could have made it out if you didn't stop to make a sarcastic remark.
So yeah, this scene in particular is something that if you watch no other part of this episode, you need to watch and they're in the cabin together and she does the kick because it is incredibly fluid, especially for 1990. The animation quality on this is leaps and bounds above what you would expect from a cartoon like this. And it's mind-blowing how much effort they put into this character. For obvious reasons, mind you, but still.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that they were a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun with designing her. The Lizard Woman says that if they don't change course, they'll be trading punchlines with Davy Jones, and Davy Jones doesn't know how to make good one-liners. All he says is, "Do ya fear death?"
Yeah, Mona is pretty much the same as Raph in terms of one-liners and personality. As you'll see later, she's got a little more to her than that, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. But for now, pretty strong, but open for bigger possibilities down the road, as we'll soon see.
Raph basically tackles her to the ground, calling her Mata Hari, as the lizard then remarks her name is Mona Lisa. Mona says that she needs to get to the controls so the ship rocks back and forth. She then says it is too late as Raph runs outside. The ship is now stuck inside of a force field. A submarine with a skull and crossbones on it rises from the depths as a voice says that there has been a change in the scheduled entertainment, and we all know who it is. It's none other than Patchy the Pirate, because he wants them to go to his house party instead.
Huh?
Well, at least I get to hear the bird brain, so worth it. Raph notes that the force field is coming from the submarine, as Mona Lisa says that that is the kleptofoil, and is commanded by Captain Filch. Captain Filch then appears, and in a twist that made me laugh, he mostly acts and looks just like a stereotypical pirate. That actually got a really good laugh at me, that this guy literally is like just an old pirate captain, you know? That's the best villain they could think of, and it works. It actually works within the world of the Ninja Turtles. Go ahead, Shark.
Now, something really funny here is that when he arrives and he starts laughing like a villain, he starts with a wah! And I'm sorry, that sounded exactly like Nintendo 64 Wario.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh my god! Wah! Gets kicked in the face by Raph.
I guess he stole Captain Syrup's shtick after defeating her.
Was just about to say that. Filch looks at the wealthy group of landlubbers. Crump says that it is a private party, as Filch says that he is correct. It is his private party, and he has sent ransom notes to all the newspapers. Crump demands that his guards throw Filch off the ship, as Filch says that, "My guards beat your guards any day." And then we get to see a group of anemone men rise up from the deep and circle the partygoers. And one thing to point out, the anemone men look so cartoonish. It actually makes me laugh, because even for 87 turtles, these guys look like Bugs Bunny would outsmart them in a cartoon, you know? They really do look so ridiculous. And I don't know if that was the point, if they were supposed to be more threatening, but the censor's like, no, you have to make them more child-friendly, but these things look absolutely ridiculous. I am sorry. They look so stupid. Go, Chuck?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I forgot the name of this character, but they look a lot like the red hair monster that occasionally shows up in Looney Tunes cartoons.
Oh hey, Gossamer. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
These creatures, honestly, would be done better in a future series, Tales of the TMNT, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, don't worry. But yeah, I mean, it's not too crazy compared to something like Krang or, I don't know, the Pee Wee Herman alien from that one episode.
That was weird.
Yeah, they are pretty bizarre. They still work, but yeah, they're pretty kooky, even for mutated anemone.
Raph notes how they don't look very friendly, as Mona says that it's his anemone slaves. Raph then says, yeah, with anemones like that, who needs friends? Boo. Go ahead, Matt.
I will guarantee you, I will 100% promise you, they made that joke and then designed the enemies around specifically that joke.
I definitely see them doing that. April asks Vernon if he is filming this, but he says he is too afraid to. April then snatches the camera from him, calling the cameraman a wimp, as he says that he is a living wimp. Filch says that if anyone tries to resist, they'll be turned into sharks. A rich woman then comes up to Crump and congratulates him on his publicity stunt, and this rich woman, she is basically doing an imitation of Margaret Dumont, who's probably best known, of course, for her appearance in the Marx Brothers films. You know, like, oh, Captain Spaulding! That was her. She was in pretty much every single Marx Brothers movies except for 2, and she basically was their 5th member in a way. She's always the rich, upper-class woman that the Marx Brothers would ruin with their antics, and she was a great actress, and is glad to see her referenced here. Crump says this isn't a publicity stunt, as Filch says that he will get lots of publicity from this, then demands April to keep filming, as the world will learn to fear Captain Filch. Raph accuses Mona of knowing who Captain Filch is, and that he was going to be there and deliberately steered the ship in his direction. Mona says that she was trying to steer them away as Raph laughs at this. Mona then says that she wishes the real Ninja Turtles were there as a gurgling sound is heard from outside. It, of course, turns out to be the Anemone Men, who are slowly approaching as Raph slams the door shut. He then tells Mona that, quote, I know what to do when I see something that size coming towards me. Mona says to untie the crewmen as the captain asks what's going on. Raph says that, I tell you, but it spoiled the surprise. Again, not the best time for sarcastic remarks here, Raph. The Anemone Men then growl and approach the captain as he cuts the pair tied up again. The captain laments the situation and says that, my wife said I'd be better off driving a bus, which, cute gag. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, could be worse. The Anemone could be speaking TV like the Junkions. Yeah, again, another Tales of the TMNT reference there, but yeah.
It could be even worse, like his minions could be the ugly barnacle.
What happens is Raph and Mona are then running on deck as they say to go in two opposite directions. Raph says that the guards are on the bow and tells her to go that way. They do, only to find the Anemone Men approaching them. Mona sarcastically asks if Raph has any other bright ideas, but Raph then grabs a deck chair, telling the monsters to have a seat as he knocks them down. The pair then run past the Anemone Men, only for another one to appear. The two then jump into the water and swim away, with Raph complimenting Mona's swimming skills as she says that he isn't so bad himself. Raph then tells Mona that he is one of the actual Ninja Turtles as she embraces him, saying that she knew that they'd rescue all of them. Raph then breaks the fourth wall, saying how, I knew she'd catch on. Then cut to April and Vernon on the deck as they try to sneak away from the Anemone Men. April says they have to find Raph before they're thrown in the fish, as Vernon, still seasick, berates her for mentioning seafood. Raph, hiding in a lifeboat, tells April and Vernon to hide with them. Obviously, they are hiding from the robots that are going to take over the world. Our world.
Nice.
Oh dear.
Also, when they were seeing that seafood, good thing Mario wasn't there.
Yep, because he loves succulent seafood.
Yep.
But April then notes that Mona is there, calling her, quote, his friend in the mutant costume. Mona notes that she is not wearing a costume and really is a mutant. April is shocked to hear that as Mona explains she is one like Raphael and tells him all about it. We then get a really funny joke here, probably my favorite joke of the episode, with Raph's, I feel a flashback coming on. And then Mona says, I didn't always look like this, as flashback begins, and Raph says, see, I told you, to the audience. And that really got a good laugh out of me. It's like when they play with the aspects of television, that is when Ninja Turtles really is funny. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
In short, she used to work for the pirate. He decided to double-cross her by flying to place with mutagen, and pretty much turning her into the lizard that we see her in the show as. The connections with her and the captain run a little deeper than that. Congratulations, we got our first female mutant in this entire series. You're welcome, Internet.
Yes, we do. But one other thing to mention is, I want to talk about that, but a little bit more in depth now. Mona, on the field trip, they are boarded by Captain Filch. One of the fellow students with her looks very eerily like Steve Urkel. Obviously, we know what happened there. Steve, go home. I don't have to take this. I'm going home.
Did I do that?
Yeah. The water that transformed her was, quote, backwash from the sub's nuclear power source, which turns her from a human into the grotesque mutant that she is. And what's interesting about this, originally, the showrunners wanted Mona to be a female turtle. But Eastman and Laird said you are not going to do that. They made her a salamander and said they were okay with that. She notes that she's been trying to stop Captain Filch ever since, and that she has failed this time. Go ahead, Angron.
Laird and Eastman weren't exactly thrilled about having a female turtle on the crew, especially, I don't know if this ultimately precedes or comes after the Turtle series, but again, Hayam Saban series of TMNT and Power Rangers coming together didn't really help things. Closest we got is a salamander, and yeah, she's not only a chemist, but she is also kick-ass as well. You're welcome, Internet. Go ahead, Shark.
Now, something really silly and funny I found about the flashback scene is that when we get to the moment that she mutates into a salamander, she says that the reason it happened is because when she was trying to dismantle the machine, she says something went terribly wrong. But in the flashback, it's like, girl, you pick up a wrench and started punching the thing. You were basically punching a nuclear reactor. It was not going to end well.
Yeah, no shit, lady.
Exactly.
Like, for a chemist and a college student, you weren't very bright on that.
Definitely not. Well, at least if only she had Pac-Man there, because as we know, he knows very well that this is a wrench. April then mentions how she hates to spoil this touching moment, as Raph says that, I know, but we have to save the world, in a mocking tone. Mona says that she always wanted to hear the Ninja Turtles say something like that, as Raph tries to call the other turtles on his communicator, but gets squirted by water. The tarp is taken off as one of the anemone men growls at him. Raph sarcastically asks that if he wants to dance, but that his card is filled, slamming the anemone man to the ground. He then says they have many other enjoyable activities on board, like shuffleboard, then uses a shuffleboard pole to push the anemone man off the ship. Raph tells the others to get going before it comes back on board, as April offers to radio the other turtles for help. Raph says that won't work before they shut off the force field. Mona says that she could do that, and that tells Raph to make a diversion. Vernon, from the lifeboat, that his plan is just to lie there as he lies down. Mona then leaps into the water as McDonald is being tied up, offering Captain Filch anything from cars to money to his bag of pizza pepper, before stumbling on the name like that several times, and offering his pizza chain. Filch says that the world will pay respect to him, as Raph says, how about your last respect? Then shows up brandishing his sai as he is now in a pirate outfit, saying he is Long John Turtle, and tells Filch to go up in a pirate way. And it's like, Raph, did you waste time playing dress up while the rest of the ship is being taken hostage?
You're asking if the 80s animated Turtles wasted time to do something for dramatic effect. Of course they did!
Raph is then surrounded by anemone men, as Raph says it might not have been such a good idea after all. Filch says that Raph is outnumbered, as Raph says that he could take over the ship if he had sea slug zombies helping him. He then runs up to Filch, telling him to fight one-on-one man to turtle. And I do like this. I like this little bit of subversion. You think that Captain Filch is going to do the honorable thing, decide to fight Raph one-on-one, hand-in-hand, and here he's just like, LOL, nope. It's just that he's in no position to bargain and tells him to tie up Raph. The anemone men then arrive with April, and she yells at them to let her go as she is a member of the press. Filch asks where she was, as an anemone man says, and gurgling, she was trying to radio for help. Filch says that is useless as no one can break his force field, with him then telling the anemone men to take her back to the radio room to give a different message. We then cut back to the turtle lairs. The turtles are watching a kaiju movie with a giant snail. Leo tells Mikey just because Raph isn't there means that they could skip their workout. Mikey then says that he wants to see Bugzilla cream the giant snail, before Leo says that if they don't start training, Splinter will cream then. We then cut to a reporter saying that, and this is a legit quote, we interrupt this cinematic masterpiece for an important announcement. I mean, it's no Night of the Robot, but I'm sorry, Bugzilla versus the giant snail does look like a lot of fun.
And who knew Gary had a pretty successful career in kaiju movies?
We then cut to April saying she has an important announcement, and one thing to note here is when April speaks about the broadcast, they just looped her animation a couple of times, and this is really noticeable. I mean, I know why they did, probably to save on having to draw frames and storyboard and that, but it really doesn't look good, the way they just loop the animation over and over.
What? An 80s cartoon cutting corners? No way!
Exactly. But Mikey laments that they're preempting Bugzilla versus the snail monster for party updates. Another line which got a great laugh out of me. April, it turns out, is being held hostage by two of the anemone men, as she says that Filch is holding them all hostage. She says that if they don't get a $2 billion ransom, they're all going to have to walk the plank. Donatello notes Trump's idea of a party game, with Mikey saying that they've been living in the sewer for too long, and that bobbing for apples have been replaced with walking the plank. Leo tells him to get going as the movie comes on, with Mikey staying to watch her a few seconds before saying that he'll have to see Bugzilla in reruns. Man, I hope they kept Bugzilla as a running gag, because that would have been hilarious if they did. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Considering how toony this particular episode of TMNT, but just as a whole the series was, I'm kind of surprised they just didn't go full Looney Tunes. And when they interrupted the program, April said, I have an important message to bring to you all. Get me out of here!
Perfect. We then come back to the yacht where Filch then puts a gag over April's mouth, telling her that even though she did a fine job, it will be her final appearance and prepares to throw her overboard. April screams at this as we see Mona swimming up to Filch's submarine and entering it, walking through the halls to the lab to turn off the force field. When she gets to the lab, she heads to the force field generator, only to be blocked off by two of the anemone men. Mona then backflips away from them onto a table as she asks, quote, if they've ever seen a flying mutant before, then says that they will again as she leaps into the air. She then taunts them as one of the anemone men then throws a chair at her, which misses, but somehow manages to hit the control panel. This, of course, turns out the lights of the room as Mona thanks the monsters before leaving. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
I mean, on the topic of flying mutants, Wingnut exists, so technically they have, but they haven't.
So does Baxter Stockman.
Yep.
Go ahead, Matt. We then come back to the yacht where April is being forced to walk the plank. Filch asks if she's sitting on knight in shining armor as the turtles arrive, all doing a Tarzan yell. And obviously, this is a reference to the fact that they would play Tarzan Boy in Ninja Turtles 3. I mean, they called it all along, people.
Nice.
Yep. Turns out that the turtles are on the turtle blimp as Filch says they will never break the force field. The turtles, of course, do this instantly as they just swing back and forth and break it. Filch is shocked, then orders his monsters to fight the intruders. Mikey says that pirate talk doesn't scare them as Leo frees Raph. Leo then says that they've got 4 of them to deal with. Mona comes back and then yells, "What am I, fish food?" and joins them. Mikey asks who she is, and in another fourth wall break, Raph notes that, "You missed the flashback, I'll explain later."
Yeah, that's
Yes. Love that one.
The turtles and Mona then begin to fight off the monsters, with Raph putting a tarp over one of them and kicking them into the ocean. Donnie holds them off with his staff as Mikey swings in, knocking down a line of them. He says, 7 in 1 blow, calling the brave little turtle. That would be a weird crossover. Brave little toaster meets brave little turtle.
If this were the East River 3 trying to topple the ship, they would have a lot more success over the turtles. But since they're not, they just have Patchy 2.0.
Leo is saving the hostages as the rich woman from earlier tells him to look out. Leo kicks one of the enemy men into the ocean as the woman thanks him, with Leo joking that they'd make a great team and runs off. The turtles continue to fight off the monsters as Mona says she has to destroy the submarine. Raph tells her not to, but she says that it's personal, heading back to the submarine. Filch has the enemy men stop them as one of them attacks the guy in the turtle costume from earlier. I do like this one. This got a good laugh out of me too. The guy in the turtle costume punches the monster in the face, saying that, "Watch it, this is a rental costume." Which, okay, that actually got a good laugh out of me, that one of the ordinary civilians is able to take out these monsters. That also means that Captain Filch really is not a good trainer if an unarmed civilian in a floppy costume could take out these things.
East River 3, this would have been a very short episode. But, again, since it's not, I think we're good.
Mona leaps off the yacht and swims to the submarine while the turtles all corner Filch. Filch offers them that they could rule the world together, which, okay.
No.
Raph notes that you're all wet and launches them into the ocean. Submarine begins to spark as with Donnie saying that they had to get out of there before they're all particles, which, okay. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
He didn't complete the catchphrase, but the whole line was going to be, "You're all wet. You're completely useless now."
Leo then tells the others to save the captain and the first mate, as Donnie wonders what will happen to Mona. Raph says that she gets swim faster than the yacht before running off to the side of the ship and quietly saying that, "I hope she can." The submarine then explodes as Filch laments its loss before being grabbed by a life preserver. We cut to Filch being arrested by the police as April notes that he could have been a great scientist, with Raph making another lame pun saying that he just went a little overboard. Crump offers to make them vice presidents of the pizza company, with the turtles being excited about changing the size and the tape, until Crump tells them to get rid of the turtle costumes. Raph just says, "Easy come, easy go," as they all leave in the turtle blimp. Here they do something interesting. I wonder if this was meant to be not in the episode, but they had to put it in to assure the kids in that. Again, 80s parents groups are insane. We see her clinging to a board as she notes that, "Isn't that just like a bunch of guys? Once they're bored, they leave you stranded." Which, again, that's a good joke, but it doesn't make sense to have her here, because in the next scene, we see Raph being all dejected, thinking that Mona Lisa is gone forever, and we literally just saw her being alive. It would have made more sense if we didn't see her and then have the surprise, you know?
I totally think it was that, like, "Oh no, kids are gonna cry if we don't quickly assure that she's still alive. Quickly add a scene with her."
Mikey says that Raph will see Mona Lisa again, as she says, sooner than you think from off screen. She and April arrive with an armful of regular-sized pizzas for the turtles. Raph runs off to meet her as the episode ends with Mikey saying he's glad to see an old friend. Donnie notes how good it is to see Mona Lisa again. Mikey, of course, knows he was talking about something else. The pizza. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, apparently Mona opened her own pizza parlor called Mona Pizza. Whack, whack.
Man, that's definitely a reference. Also, Very nice to see Mona still alive in this. Most people would unceremoniously end one-off characters in gratuitous ways. I'm glad they kept her alive with this.
I'm with Mikey here. A pretty lizard girl and pizza. What more could a man ask in life?
He definitely got it right.
Exactly.
The thing that's interesting is Mona was going to make a return appearance in the final season, which is infamously the Red Sky season, where the Turtles tried to compete with Batman, the animated series, by making it darker and more serious, and it did not work as well, sadly. It would have been nice to see her again, but in that season, definitely not. However, Mona would still be extremely popular with fans, with an appearance in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game Shredder's Revenge happening, as well as her also being in some comics, which we might talk about in the future, some 87's Ninja Turtle comics. Now, they're not comics that were made to coincide with the show. They were comics that were made years later as kind of like another season, and it'll be really fun to talk about that. But that is not also the last thing we'll talk about, because the 2012 version would also have Mona Lisa, but this one would be very different in both design and backstory. They have really nothing in common, aside from the fact that they're both female salamanders, and they kind of had a crush on Raph, you know? That literally is all they have in common. And interesting to see that they still kept the memory alive there. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 87 itself would end a few years later, the Red Eye season, but we don't talk about that. But one thing also to note about it is Ninja Turtles still, to this day, I think it's one of the longest running Saturday morning cartoons of all time. I mean, it lasted from 1987 to 1994, almost uninterrupted. That is insane. Before Simpsons, this held the title of single cartoon, because technically Scooby-Doo and that can count with incarnations, but in terms of a single cartoon, Ninja Turtles had a really good run. Oh, go ahead now, Math.
I am amazed that Mona never got another appearance in the series. Considering how much effort they put into her and how much of the budget for this episode was behind her specifically, it felt like they were gearing her up to be a regular mainstay character and then just abandoned her. That is insane, especially considering how big the fan response has been to her from just a one-episode character.
Maybe it was Eastman and Laird that did that, because those guys had some hang-ups about some of the characters and that, so maybe it was them. She really is a great character, and again, it is a shame we never got to see her in the actual show, but she does appear, of course, in other Ninja Turtle things, and that is definitely worth it. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Her and just pretty much almost everything about this show is one of those things that both withstands the test of time, but also kind of feels a tiny bit dated. Not too dated, mind you. Lord forbid this show does anything that makes it feel like it's out of touch or out of time. Yeah, I 100% feel that this show, it definitely deserves to be talked about more, especially given its reincarnations and what they do to add new flair to the Turtles' name.
I can definitely see that. And yeah, like I said, of course, Ninja Turtles as a whole would be insanely popular. And this is also far from the last episode we're going to do on the Turtles, both in comics, shows, and pretty much a lot of it. We have a lot more stuff to talk about with the franchise. And just to quote one of my favorite memes, cowabunga it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that leads us into the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character? This could be any character, any iteration of them. And I'm going to go first, and mine is probably going to be, honestly, I think my favorite iteration of the Turtles as a whole might just be the 1990 movie continuity, because it really is well made. They look absolutely incredible for the time period. I mean, you had Jim Henson working on it. The guy really knew how to do it. The way these turtles move are amazing, considering they were guys in huge, bulky costumes. The fact they're able to fight like that is really something else. The story is good. They feel real. The 87 Turtles definitely was proof of concept, and it's a lot of fun and that sort of stuff. But for my money, the 1990 version of the Turtles just feels real. It's like, that's how they would act if they were actually like real characters, like in our world. That is how they would be. That is how good they are. That's how good the effects, and just that the acting and the voice acting is so good. It really is something else. And of course, one thing I also love to point out is Robbie Rist, the guy who voices Michelangelo in the movies, he was Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch. So he had a better career than all the Brady kids.
Yikes.
Exactly.
That's going to be my pick for my favorite characters. Another one, of course, is going to be Mona, of course, another one. And another one is going to be one that we actually talked about. And it's kind of a shame that she never also appeared again. But at the same time, we have something that is, and that is General Zira from Ninja Turtles, Back to the Past. And she is such a good character. Triceratons alone are really just a great concept. But for them to have a character like that that's a female commander, and they got Kate Mulg from Star Trek Voyager doing the voice, and she really does a great job as well. And again, one episode appearance, nothing else ever again, and she fits perfectly in the continuity of the 2012 Turtles, and yet they never did anything with her, and it's really a shame. But I think the reason I like her so much too is because she really just has such a great for the world building. We actually find out more about the Triceraton race because of her and that. We do have someone that is extremely similar to her from the IDW comic. That's actually going to be my choice. They're going to be the Turtles and Splinter. I also want to bring up Splinter from the 1990 version because he looks great as well, and the voice is great. And it's going to be them. It's going to be Mona, and it's going to be General Zero. Those are going to be my choices. Angron, what would your pick be for your favorite Ninja Turtles character?
Before I begin, you said the movie Turtles were your first pick?
Yeah, the 1990 ones.
All right, gotcha. All right, so mine are going to be a little longer, as it were. So right off the bat, I'm going to be covering two characters who have honestly grown on me in recent years. It's honestly pretty impressive how much Krang and Shredder have put up with these two. Rocksteady and Bebop. Yeah, on the surface, your basic mooks. Your greasy slime balls who used to be dime a dozen crooks and hoods. But good lordy, ever since getting mutated by Krang, they have been nothing but mainstays in the entirety of the series. Even in stuff like the Michael Bay movies, they still remain pretty charismatic, all things considered. Nothing too crazy there, but I digress. The versions I'm going to talk about are, strangely enough, the Archie Comics version of Rocksteady and Bebop. Good lordy. If there was ever a series to add more flair and depth to a Rhino and Warthog duo that's pretty much been known for nothing but being absolute hoodlums and whatnot, it was Archie. Like, these are the same people who made Sonic and Mega Man. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, what they did with them is honestly something I wasn't exactly expecting, and might just be the most risky thing the Turtles have ever done with these characters. They legit made them nudists. Like, I kid you not. This is canon to that series anyways.
Okay.
Through some shenanigans involving some cosmic witch called Cherube, putting them on a planet with a bunch of animals, their animalistic side started to show out a little more, and because of that, they ultimately felt that clothes were kind of pointless because, well, they're animals. They acknowledged that much. Like, this is clarity from Rocksteady and Bebop, of all people. Like, I get they have some wisdom to them, but to this extent? Alright, but enough about that. Fun characters on their own. The Archie comics made it better. Second character, Mr. Freeze, Polar Bear from Batman vs. TMNT. Yeah, what more do I need to say about that? It's Mr. Freeze as a polar bear. I love polar bears. Yeah, they're dangerous. They view humans as food sometimes, but I'm sorry. I love polar bears. They're so cute. And also very big and very powerful. I love them. And Mr. Freeze as a polar bear. Humor is almost Schwarzenegger levels, but more refined. Wow, they did a lot with him in just the few moments that he was on screen. And I love that. Anyway, yeah, I'm also going to include Zara in on that. Everything Lud said about Zara applies to me as well. One scene that happens in there where their clothes get burned off via the robot. Arguably my favorite character in all of TMNT, Lee the Eel from the Tales of the TMNT, a spin-off series from Mutant Mayhem that, I'll be honest, I kind of like a little more than Spider-Verse. Hot take, I know. I think it's a little better. It's more unique. It has a style that I can definitely get behind. The characters are very unique. Lee the Eel. She's just adorable to look at. Voiced by the same person who did Lex Lightning from Super Mansion. Pretty much, she does a great job voicing this character. She's adorable. She's fun. She can be a little intense sometimes, but that's honestly the fault of having a pretty toxic friend, let's put it that way. Most of the time, she's very heartfelt, sincere, like pretty much an electric moray eel. Like, how exact? I already love moray eels. Electric eels are If they looked like moray eels, I'd be a little more inclined to enjoy them a bit more, but they made her work in so many ways. Moray eels, little back jaw that can snap out, and that little detail is what inspired the xenomorph. I would not be surprised if Lee had that, but that's not why I love her. She's a great character. She's awesome. Her abilities are amazing, and she is quite possibly my favorite character in all of the TMNT universe. But yeah, those 5 are going to be my favorite characters. Long-winded, I know, but oh, good lordy.
Understandable. I grew up with this show. There's so many characters.
Also gave me the excuse to talk about Archie, Rocksteady, and Bebop, so there's that.
But like I say, if we can also add the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman crossover characters, I'm sorry, I have to pick Hyena Harley because that was great.
I can see why.
Best version of Harley, easily. Make her
Yes.
canon in the new DCEU, you cowards. But yeah, that's a great, great choice right there. Let's see, Matt, what would your picks be?
Mine would be Hyena Harley as well, but I think that that's a little bit cheating because the idea is specifically TMNT characters. So I can give you a very quick rundown of how my favorite has evolved over time. As a young kid, it was Leo because, oh, well, leader and katanas are cool. 3 edgy, 5 me teenager, it's obviously going to be Raph. And as an adult, it has become Master Splinter. Splinter, I swear, I don't think that they were intending for this. It has evolved this way over time. Splinter is one of, if not the, short of something like Bandit from Bluey, the best dad in animation.
Yeah.
He is so good, so caring, so thoughtful of the turtles as his children. He's just a wonderful mentor and father figure, and all of the incarnations of him do just more and more with that and bring out how much of a good, caring parent he is, until the newest ones, which have turned him into a giant joke, which is kind of why I hate those. Everything from 2012 Turtles and before are great. Those are some of the best that Splinter has ever been, and I think that 2012 Turtles is actually the best looking that Splinter has ever been. I give the show credit big time for making him look really, really cool when normally they focus more on the rat-like features. They made him actually look fitting in that style in the world. But yeah, like I just love how much of a great dad Splinter is, and that's a character that you just don't see anymore, unfortunately, and we need more characters like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, on that note, I do like the Mutant Mayhem version of Splinter. Like, they lean more heavily on the dad part compared to the Ninja Master version of him. I still think he's nice. He's easygoing, but he is still very much the same caring person that we see in the OG Turtles and whatnot.
I definitely see that. And yeah, like I say, he really, really is such a great character. And again, the voice acting definitely helps, you know? So let's see, Shark, what would your pick be?
Well, this is a funny one because there's 2 funny things actually. One, they are both from the same version of the Turtles, which is 2012. Now, here's the thing. I think 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like the first time I really got into a cartoon of theirs. Like, I knew about them, I did see some episodes here and then, but 2012 was the one that I watched from the first episode to the last episode, per se. And the Turtles, my favorite is Michelangelo. Like, I always like the jokester of the team, and like the one who sets the mood, makes like witty remarks and all of that. But he doesn't overdo it, well, most of the time. There are some times when it's a really poor timing to make jokes, but that's kind of a spoiler for now. And the best part is, like, even though he's a prankster, he's not like constantly goofing up. He gets his moments. He's competent. Heck, there's some episode where he's like there's one with a mutant, literally mutant picks ass, brainwashing people, and he's like the only one who doesn't fall for their tricks. He's the one who saves the day on his way. Like, he interrogates one of the Pixars by literally threatening with eating them. And it's a funny episode and all of that. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting take of the character, honestly. Now, the funny thing number 2 is that the other character is pretty much the opposite of him. And that will be 2012 version of Shredder, of all things, because good lord, this version is easily one of the darkest versions of the characters for a general audience show at least, because I know 2012 it's dark, but it's not the darkest, but still it's still aimed at younger audiences. And this Shredder, good freaking lord, it's a long story with this guy. Like, the design is so badass. His backstory is one of the most petty ones. Like, he did all what he did over something very minuscule, but he never let go. He wants Splinter dead no matter what. He was his students dead, and like the way he evolves through the show, like he starts as a normal human, and let's just say he ends the show as, wow, you really went with this direction to this character, huh? I'm gonna go for those two for the answer.
So I know you said Shredder, but what was the first one?
Michelangelo.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. Great choices right there. Let's see, Stryker, what would your picks be?
Surprised no one mentioned the show that I grew up with, 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's Michelangelo. Michelangelo was my favorite ever since I started watching it, and Michelangelo was my favorite. But I'm also 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Michelangelo. It has been and always will be my favorite character. But also, I can give a special mention to a couple of characters from 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
One being Baxter Stockman. This entire show was shown on 4Kids. There was some borderline body horror in this show. Like, Baxter Stockman actually experimented on himself, even becoming just a complete vascular system.
There's also the episode where it was cut because he literally decomposed on screen. His mouth fell off, his ears, everything. He was becoming greener. They cut that for obvious reasons.
He becomes zombie.
Exactly. And of course, the darkest version, in television, the darkest version of there's a plot twist with Shredder, but
good call.
I can let people figure out what that is.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I say, all really great choices all around. And it's always that we pretty much all talked about different incarnations of the turtles. Now it's time for the patent-pending Dragoness Scale. We're going to rank the Dragoness. In this case, it's the female lizard, as we're going to talk about Mona Lisa herself. And for me, love the design, love the voice, love pretty much everything about her. She's a great character, and this is a hard one because I don't know if I could give her a perfect score. I really do like her. The design is great, the voice is great, the backstory is great, everything is good. But I don't know, it just feels like the missed opportunity, It really feels like they had such a great thing going for it. And then they just whiffed, like I'm not doing anything else with her. They had to let the fans pick up the slack in that. And honestly, with that being said, I am going to give Mona a 10 out of 10. I cannot think of a single flaw with her, not with design, not with voice, not with characterization. Considering she was a one-off character, she does a really great job. As Matt said earlier, the animation is good, and I am so hard-pressed to think of a single flaw of her. So I am actually going to give her a perfect score, and we'll have to see how that turns out. But for now, Angron, what would you give her?
I, too, am going to give her a perfect score. In terms of the OG, she would normally be a 9 out of 10. Everything you said applies to her. I feel that what's represented in the show is neat and could have built to something great, but at the same time, it very well could have been better. She could have done a lot more. She could have helped out more. Everything we got with Raph and Mona in 2012 is what we probably should have gotten in the OG, all things considered. That being said, however, if it were just the OG, that's where my ranking would have just been 9 out of 10. However, I said 10 out of 10. Why? Shredder's freaking Revenge. They gave her so much personality in that one. They allowed her to utilize her chemistry major to like throw beakers everywhere to make gas bombs. Like her personality here is just off the walls. Like she's geeky, but she's still exceptionally skilled and strong. Like, good lordy. Like, yeah, her stats aren't as powerful as Raph's, but she still definitely holds her own. Also, she freaking dons geek glasses, like those Japanese spiral glasses, so that definitely adds a bit of charm to that. And also, her victory pose is literally taking a selfie with the turtle com. So take that as you will, but for me personally, that's enough to bump her up to a 10 out of 10. She's perfect. Like, yeah, I can't really speak for the comics since I haven't really read them. And, okay, other than the Rocksteady and Bebop ones, I haven't really seen much of her anywhere else outside of the 2012 comics and apparently the IDW comics. For the stuff I have seen, she 100% gets 10 out of 10 eyes as well.
So yeah, like I say, I definitely have to agree with that. But you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Math, what would you give her?
This one's kind of weird because it's a one-off character that was made like she wasn't intended to be a one-off character. Her design is great. Her voice is great. The animation behind her is astounding. They made her have an adorkable personality before that trope was run into the ground. She's very cute. She's very charming. She's got plenty of screen time in this episode. She fights well. She has all the kind of traits that you would want for a character in this series. I cannot, for a one-off character of all things, find anything that I particularly dislike about her. She's 10 by default, and I'm upset that they didn't do anything with her beyond this.
Let's see, Shark, what would you give her?
I guess if the only bad thing you can say of that character is I wanted to see more, it means that it's a really good character because, yeah, I can't think of any flaw of her. I like the design. I like her role in the episode. Backstory is interesting and all of that. And I will normally say the same thing that, they only used her once. That's going to affect the score. But no, like Angron said, it's clear she's a fan, popular character. They added this version specifically in the Shredder's Revenge game, and yeah, I like the animations he has there, like the one where he pulls the nerd glasses and laughs and all of that. So yeah, even if she was a one-off character, it's clear she has a big impact on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fandom, and yeah, like that, we're continuing with a perfect 10 for her.
Woo-hoo!
Wow. And like I say, this might be one of the more unexpected perfect scores, so let's see if we have that. Stryker, what would you give her?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Yes.
I love this version of her so much. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yes, she's so adorable. She's so geeky. She's strong. She's quirky. She does quips like Raph. Like, what more can we say about her?
I mean, she pretty much is Raph's girlfriend after all. So,
Like I said, this is the most unexpected 10 out of 10 to date because the other ones were kind of new going in that they would get like perfect scores for the most part, but this one really took me by surprise, and I'm glad it did because, wow, that means there are now 5 characters with perfect scores. How many more will there be in the future? We can only speculate. But that's going to be it for this episode, and I think that's a good note to end it on. If you have any questions, or if you want to see the thrilling conclusion of Bugzilla versus the Snail Monster, feel free to email us at fieriediscourse@alec.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fieriediscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel, subscribe to the playlist, like and hit the bell icon, leave a comment. Any and all comments are appreciated. Next week, we'll be talking about the 2001 Pokemon Master Quest episode, A Promise is a Promise.
Oh, yeah.
We're returning to a character that we have not talked about since the earliest days of the podcast. This is actually one of the first episodes, and it was before we actually had a stable lineup of hosts, just to point out how different the show was. But we're finally going to take an old character on, and we're finally going to do her justice in this case. Yep, and you'll have to see how that goes. But until then, thank you all so much for watching, and take care.
Cowabunga, dudes.
Laters.
Adios. See you all next week.